You will not get anywhere with a child with behavior if you do not try to build a relationship. Coffee is always the answer. Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about students with behavior and how you handle them in your classroom. Today I'm going to talk about a little bit of what I've used in my classroom before, but really the basics and how you need to keep behavior simple. So let's go ahead and get started. I had a lot of you come to me and ask questions about different behaviors that you've seen in your room. And 9 times out of 10, when you send me a question about a behavior, I've actually dealt with that kid. So I can totally help you. Now, I know I've never taught above 4th grade. I know I've never taught middle school. However, what I am going to do is I'm going to talk to you about what do I do with this child, how do I confront it, and how do I work on building that relationship? Because when it comes to behavior, relationship is key, period. You will not get anywhere with a child with behavior if you do not try to build a relationship. That's it. Really. Behavior in and of itself is not simple, but your thought process needs to be kept simple. Here. So let's talk about the child that avoids work, shall we? We have a lot of these friends. I've gotten lots of messages about this kid just won't do the work. They just avoid the work. They won't do it. They don't want to do it. I've tried this. They won't do it. Totally understand. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share a little bit of a story with you and how I approach this child. I personally have dealt with many children like this, and my approach is always similar. It's never the exact same, but it's definitely similar to what I've done in the past. Step 1, figure out what the kid likes. When you let the kid avoid, when they avoid, what is it that they do? Do they silently draw pictures? Would they rather be singing? Would they rather be tapping and dancing? What is it that the child does when they avoid? When you put something on their desk and you walk away and they don't self-start, what do they choose to do? Take note of that because you're going to use it. That's your intel. Sometimes in the past what I've done is I've done really simple, like put a quick check problem. Maybe there's 10 problems on a worksheet for math, and the child that avoids work, I really don't know where they're at. That's a problem. So as this quick informal assessment, I'm going to put it on their desk and I'm going to walk away. And when I walk away, I've removed all of my energy because sometimes it's a power struggle. So me physically standing by that kid is a problem. So I'm going to put it there. Hey, cool. Can you do these problems for me? I'll be back. And I'm going to take a whole lap around the room slowly. And here's what I'm going to do while I take that lap. I am watching what that child does. Are they looking at other people's and just copying to get it done to keep me happy and off their back? Or are they completely avoiding it? And when they're avoiding it, what are they choosing to do? For instance, right now, I have a child who really likes, I think it's Five Nights at Freddy's with Freddy's? Freddy, Five Nights, I don't know. Freddy? Anybody know what I'm talking about? Five Nights at Freddy's. That's what it is. Five Nights at Freddy's. They're obsessed with this game. They love it. They want to draw the characters. They love My Little Pony. I learned all of this in 5 minutes. 5 minutes, that's all it took. Me putting a paper on this child's desk, walking away and removing all of my power from them, and just observing. They like to draw. They drew My Little Pony, they drew these characters from Five Nights at Freddy's, and they didn't write any words. They just completely avoided the worksheet. When I came back, I looked at the child and I was like, oh, you didn't get started. Do you need help? I didn't come at him like, why aren't you getting started? I told you to get started. Oh, no. Don't do that. Instead, take a step back and be like, oh no, did you raise your hand? Do you need help? Because I just told, like, if you need help, you're supposed to raise your hand because maybe they don't know. Or maybe they forgot. Or maybe they just chose not to. But that's an expectation. So I kind of throw an expectation in there. And then when they're like, no, I don't want to do it. Okay, great. Well, what are you doing instead? See, I didn't say, well, you should be doing this. I said, what are you doing instead? More intel. Give me more intel. Well, then what happens, not only am I getting more intel by asking what they were doing, I'm now creating a diversion. Because right now, their brain is stuck on the fact that they're supposed to do this activity that they don't want to do. Whether it's hard, whether they don't know how to do it, whether there's something else happening in life that's keeping them from focusing on it. I have just removed all of that, and the child's talking about something positive. See what I did there? When I get the child off to talk about something positive, I kind of slowly work my way back to the task at hand. So I'm listening, I'm asking questions, I'm prompting, I want to know more about this because I'm going to use it later to get this child to work. But right now, what I'm doing is I'm working the child in a circle where they feel positive, they're talking about something that they love, and then we're going to come back to working on tasks. Does the child want to draw? This child in particular wants to draw. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work this child back and be like, okay, great. You know what? We have about 5 minutes left. And you told me a lot about, Five Nights at Freddy's. How about I'm going to cross off a couple problems, and I'm going to cross off problems that they don't need to do, just enough to get me to know what they know. So I'm going to cross off a couple problems, and here's why I'm doing that. Because you fixed it. You talked to me. You told me about something. You built a relationship with me, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and cross off a couple problems. And then when I come back, if you've done these 2 problems, I'll cross off another one. So I just simplified the task. I let them avoid for a little bit, but then I brought it back. And this child also loves to draw on the desk with a dry erase marker. You know what I let them draw? When they've done what I've asked, they get to draw a Five Nights with Freddy character. I don't know what it is, but it makes them happy and we get stuff done. Plus, I now know what makes that kid tick. It's all about building a relationship. That story is something that I do with all of my behavior kiddos. I always find a 2 minutes here, 3 minutes here, whatever. Behavior isn't meant to be come down on. Behavior is, they're trying to tell you something and you need to step back and look. What I actually found out about this child that was avoiding work is that they were afraid of making mistakes. They don't want to make mistakes. And when they make mistakes at home, they get in huge trouble. So they've associated that with making mistakes at school. See, in my room, that's when I can have that conversation of mistakes are a good thing. Sometimes when you break a kid down and you let them share with you what they're thinking, you'll actually get more information rather than being like, I told you to do this, I am the adult, and that's it. There's a time and place for that, but it's not right now. All right, guys, so by no means am I some kind of behavior expert. I've taught in Title I for 7 years. I've always had behavior students or students that have behaviors. And I've just done a lot of reflecting and research when it comes to working with kiddos that have those kind of behaviors. Behavior is never a personal thing. We often as adults take behavior personally, but a child exhibiting different behaviors isn't trying to come at you in a personal manner. They're trying to tell you what they need. So instead of taking it personal, we need to look at what are the different things that are triggering this child? What are the different things that we can do as an adult that's helping a child with behavior? And hopefully you can work on building a relationship. Behavior really comes down to 2 things. It comes down to building a relationship with that student, and it also comes down to time, which we really don't have a whole lot of, do we? But relationships are so important for students that have behavior or defiance or avoidance. You have to build that relationship. If that means taking a few minutes out of your guided reading block just to sit and talk one-on-one with that kid, totally fine. Find out what they like, find out what they hate, find out what they did the other day. They don't want to talk about school. We've got a whole suitcase that they've brought with them today that is full of everything else that is in their mind. So maybe give them a few seconds to unpack that suitcase so it's a little bit lighter when they go home at the end of the day. When a child exhibits behavior, it's never meant to be personal. It's always something else. You have to look beyond the behavior, and I've said this before, you have to look beyond the behavior to figure out what you can do for that child. 9 times out of 10, it's they're scared, they don't know who to trust, and everything is a little bit up in the air for them. And think about it, if you put yourself in that child's shoes and looked at their life, and you may not even know all about it, you would probably be upset too. part of being in a relationship is working with that child. Let's talk about the kid that doesn't want to build a relationship with you. These are hard. And usually these children have experienced a lot of like moving adults, a lot of movement, a lot of upset, a lot of adults that they can't trust in their life. So who are you to them? Is really kind of what they're thinking. And behavior can come out in so many ways, whether it's complete avoidance of like talking to you, they seem unreachable, they don't want to connect with you at all, they don't seem involved. Because in their mind, they're probably sitting here going, I have no one to trust, I don't know why I'm here, I should be doing this instead, I have this to worry about, I have this at home to worry about, I really don't have time for this. And that's where you need to step in and build the relationship again. You've got to build a relationship. And these kiddos that have had this kind of trauma are going to make you work for it. Work for it. Because working for a relationship with this kind of child is so worth it in the end. But it's hard. It is hard and it is exhausting. But these kiddos just need someone to be there. And they're gonna make you prove it. And you can't be upset because this child's making you prove that you're going to be there. They've had people leave their lives all the time. So instead of being upset with them or frustrated with them, take breaths with these kiddos. Take a couple breaths and just really nonchalantly during the day while you're walking around the classroom or whatever, you see them in the hall, be like, hey, are you feeling okay today? I noticed you kind of had your head down and I'm just kind of worried about you. Are you all right? Those kind of things where I'm worried about you, I love you, and I want you here and I care for you, that's the beginning. Now, if you do it consistently, if you figure out what they're doing tonight, or you figure out like maybe they'll start to open up to you and kind of tell you a little bit more about their life, then you can continue to ask those questions about what they're doing in their life because no one else is doing it. You have to be that person. So if you want to be able to reach these kids, talk to them, tell them that you're here for them, and tell them that you're happy that they're here because maybe at home nobody wants them around. You have those kiddos and it's heartbreaking. But tell them that you love that they are here. Whether they showed up an hour and a half late to school, whether they showed up and they've completely left their head down on their desk, you're happy that they are there because you know that they're safe, you know that they're okay, and you got to see them today. That made your day. When you let that child know that, so many amazing things can happen, but you have to be persistent. You have to be ready to be knocked down and be ready to be pushed away multiple times, and you have to keep getting up and working for this kid because no one else in their life has done it so far. You have to be that person. One more thing that I've learned about dealing with kids that have severe trauma or extreme behaviors is they're not aware of how they react when they have a really overwhelming emotion and they don't know the appropriate way to handle it. So this year what I've done is we've taken a lot of time to be reflective of how we're feeling when we get really upset. Like, how does our body feel? Is your heart racing? Do you feel hot? Do you feel like jittery? When you have those feelings, we have to take deep breaths. It has helped me react appropriately to different behaviors when I feel super upset or I feel just frustrated in general. And it's also helped my students. And it also helps that we do it together. Every morning when my kids come in, I have tasks on the board, but then the other thing is they need to just sit and calm down. Mornings are hard. You don't know what happened at home. They don't know what happened when you tried to get to work today. So everybody just needs to be on the same page. Take 3 minutes to take deep breaths. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Do not draw, do not think about anything else. Just simply take deep breaths to bring your body down. My kids do this in the morning, they do this after lunch, and then they are working on using it when they are upset or frustrated. I've been really working hard on having my kiddos be aware of how they're feeling and taking those deep breaths. When something is really, really frustrating and they're caught up in that moment with someone, they need to walk away and take deep breaths. And I've had so many kiddos that I've seen do this, and I reward them. You know what? That was a great choice. You did a fantastic job. And it also helps that I myself when I'm upset or when I'm frustrated and I'm working on something, I also say, hey, you know what, guys, I need to take a couple minutes and take some deep breaths. Can we all do this together? And then I practice it just as I want them to do it. Because I need it too. They're not the only ones that need deep breaths. So taking time to build relationships, keep behavior simple, don't take it personal, and take those deep breaths with everyone should help. But also check your mindset. Are you thinking you're never going to reach that kid, or are you thinking I need to be persistent and no matter what, this is going to work? That's where you need to check yourself a little bit. All right, folks, I hope you found this video helpful. There's a lot of information, there's a lot of different stories, and that's not even the beginning of all that I know about behavior. So if you'd like to see another behavior video or you want to do a live Q&A, I'd be more than happy to work on that. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button if you learned anything. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any other videos, and I will talk to you guys later. I'll see you next time.